here with Half Dozen Customs. We're back out here on the Jeep. We last left off with me working on the passenger side of the floor. We got that all wrapped up. It looks good. Now we're going to get started on the firewall. So I'm going to start with just a wire wheel and start getting it all cleaned up. And there's a couple of welds that have been done since we originally did the firewall, so we got to get those cleaned up carefully, because some of those welds are where we just body worked, so we don't want to get them hot to where it ruins our body work on the inside. So we'll do that very carefully, take it easy, go slow. So, but show you the floor real quick, since you guys didn't get to see that kind of finished. I think the last we left off with was I was in the middle of coating this here, and it's so hot out here that it hardened in the middle of me trying to coat it, and we ended up having to coat it twice. So I think that's where we left off, was with me coating it twice. I did hammer down a couple of high spots here on the rocker panel. We did the same thing on the driver's side, and then we recoated that. And I air filed all this, and you know, the other side we had sanded down by hand. You know, it was one thin coat. It was super, you know, easy. I mean, it took a little bit of time, but it was easy. You know, air file doesn't really fit right there. So, but with the passenger side, I started hand sanding it. And because basically we were trying to sand down 2 coats, because I had to recoat it, you know, there was a lot. So I worked the air file around in there, and we were able to get it all knocked down. It's nice and flat. It's probably a little flatter than the driver's side because we got that second coat on there. But like I said, I wasn't really going for straight. I was just more or less trying to make sure that you couldn't see the welds when we go ahead and body line it, or bed line it. So, but anyways, that's done. Moving on, we're gonna start on the firewall. We do have also that we can start on as well. I'm kind of waiting at the moment to start it, but we might be starting it here in the next day or two. We got a nice, I don't know, I don't know the exact size. I would say it's like a 10-inch touch screen radio GPS. It's a dash mount. It's not a flip out or anything like that. It's a dash mount. So we have that. It's here. We have that for the dashboard. It's got speedometer and tachometer on it. Shows your park neutral drive. It's got a bunch of stuff on it. So, so we have that we got to get installed, but we also have to. I ordered the 1-inch solenoid, or whatever you want to call it, the ram, to move that vent up and down, and we are waiting for that. It's supposed to be here by Friday. So once that gets here, I think we can wrap this guy up. We need to remake the hinges. We had made them out of sheet metal to make sure everything worked. It worked. Now we got to transfer it over to some 1/8-inch steel, get them welded in place, make sure everything works. I think before we get this finalized, I want to take this vent out. We're gonna sandblast it, get it cleaned up, get it primed. I think I'm gonna paint the inside of it and get it painted so that we can put the rubber seal in and have it sitting exactly how it's going to sit finished, and make sure that we get everything in the right place so that it opens and closes properly, and then get that touchscreen installed. Those two are going to coincide with each other, because I need to make sure everything can clear and not interfere with anything moving or up and down, or, you know, having wiring getting tangled in it or rubbing on it or anything like that. So So those two things are coming up here shortly. We're going to be working on that. There's a couple of things that we need to weld up on the dashboard. The keyhole that we were keeping for the key, the ignition to go in, that has to be welded up now and moved because the screen actually covers part of the hole. So we can't keep that there. So we got to relocate the keyhole and stuff like that. And then we can get that dashboard wrapped up. I want to get that dashboard wrapped up so that way we can prime the floor and prime the dashboard at the same time. So that's coming soon. I'm hoping that maybe we can get the firewall wrapped up, the front of this cowl and around the window wrapped up, and maybe the side panels of the front cowl area, and then we can prime all that, the floor and the dashboard all at once, and it's all done, ready to go. So it's a lot of work. It's gonna take a lot of time to get it ready. So enough talking, let's get to work. All right, so I got most of from like the brake booster over hit with our wire wheel guy. I'm gonna go through with this guy and we're gonna clean up those welds that I said got welded after we had gotten the firewall done. This is just 80 grit on here, and like I said, I'm gonna go slow, try not to create any heat. Anything that's above this area, we're okay. It's from here down is where we did some body work. So, well, actually, I'd say from probably about here down. But there's just over here. I think there's one right here. There's a couple up here on the top, and there's a couple down here on the bottom. Other than that, we're good. I think most of them are on this side, which I don't know. Are we gonna get this all cleaned up? There's a couple spots that I can't get into with the wire wheel, so we're gonna have to hit them with a sandblaster. We got VA everything down. And then do we start, smooching some Marglass on our spots and start getting this stuff body worked out, and then start over here? Or do we take the whole brake system apart again and get all that out of there? It's got to come out of there anyways, but I don't know, we'll see. Just kind of winging it. Ow. Man, don't set your hand down on that thing. That freaking hurt. I guess we'll just start DAing with some 80 grit and getting some more of this cleaned up. No, before I'm gonna put the wire wheel on the drill, and we're gonna attack some areas with that. And then we'll go to DA. I was thinking about maybe sandblasting a couple of spots. No. But I think I may save sandblasting for last when we have the brake thing out and we just do it all at once and make one mess. So, like I said, I'm just winging it. My mind will probably change again. I really want to get body work started, but we got some work to do before then. Been waiting, last couple days I've been waiting for some stuff to show up. We're still waiting for one more thing, which is the actuator solenoid thingy for the vent. But got a new thing of Marglass, so we're ready to start coating this stuff as soon as it's ready to go. And one of the main things that I was really waiting on was this piece. Because I really wanted to drill the holes in the firewall before we did the body work. So, this is for the heater core lines to go in. So, they're pretty nifty. They just unscrew from the back. I don't know, I'm sure, you know, if you're a car guy, you've seen these before. But it's a bulkhead. So we'll drill a couple of holes the size of this in the firewall, so that we can get this mounted in there, and then we can continue on. I think where we left off last time was we needed to pull all the brake stuff, so we still need to do that, but let's get this done first, and then we can move on to removing the brakes. So before, so this thing, so before, this thing had multiple holes in it. So it had a hole here that we welded up, and it had a hole here that we welded up, and then it also had a hole here that we welded up, and a hole here that we welded up. I forget where exactly they went through at. I think they went through down here, but I'm not positive. But I'm thinking that we're gonna run this like so. So just right next to the electrical, I think is where it needs to go. I mean, we could run it up there. You know, the battery and the battery box goes there. I think it would look nicer being in line with the electrical, so. Alright, we're okay. So, I'm thinking just right in line with the electrical. So everything's kind of going through in this area here. Before we do this, so real quick, I'm gonna scroll through some pictures on my phone and see, because there's a, you know, there's a big side and a little side. Let's see how it comes out of the motor. I would hate for it to come out of the motor one way and then we have them twisted going in. So let me look at some pictures real quick. I found a picture of it. I don't know if you guys can see that, but they're side by side on the motor. So it doesn't matter which way we run it. On this one, or on this, I don't think that it matters. It's just whatever I choose to do. So, do big on the bottom, little on top, I guess. one, we can use our step bit, this top one. Bottom one, we're going to have to use a hole saw. Alright, so we got, I think this guy will work, hopefully. It's a 7/8. Alright, that looks pretty good. Alright, as you can see, I got the brakes out so that we can start cleaning up this last little bit right here. There's a couple welds to grind down. Again, I just have some 80 grit on here. I do believe that we do have some body work in this area, so on the inside, so I don't want to get it super hot. Clean up this hole a little bit. This top hole came out great. Bottom hole, not so much. Those hole saws, I don't do the greatest. All right, I think we're all cleaned up and we can do some mark glass, I think. So we got a couple of these spots. We gotta get some mark glass around these bolt holes. I don't want to get it in the threads. We had left off with throwing this coat on here. I'm gonna hurry up and just kind of knock down what I can with the mud hog. We'll get cleaned up what we can't get with this, and then I think we're gonna cut a couple more spots, or hit a couple more spots. So let's get to it. It's about to start storming, so it may get noisy here. Alright, I'm gonna mix up some more and get some more coated. And I'll see you guys back here when it's ready to sand again. Alright, well, we got that all coated in Marglass and sanded down. So we're going to move on to the lightweight filler now. And before I go crazy on it and just create a huge task, because there's so many shapes and valleys and gullies and body lines and, you know, hinges to go around, and there's just a lot going on that firewall. So probably what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm just gonna coat a spot or two at a time. We'll break it off like between the body lines, and, you know, we'll pick a section that we can get a nice coat on. You know, like I said, I'll maybe do 2-3 sections. I'm just gonna mix up a small amount of filler, and then we'll coat it until that is gone or it starts to harden on me. And then we'll let that dry. We'll get that all sanded and smoothed out, and then we'll move on to another area. I'm gonna break it down into sections and just do little sections at a time until we get the whole thing all coated and smoothed out. Not gonna try and coat the whole thing all at once. You're just gonna end up making a mess of things. There's just so much going on there. To try and create less work, we'll just take our time doing it. So I'm gonna get some filler mixed up, and we'll be back to spread some filler. Okay, I got some of the lightweight filler here. Let's get this mixed up. So we had that storm roll through. It was a pretty good storm, downpoured there for a few minutes. Sounds like we got another one coming in. It's thundering and rumbling out there again. Way too much. We're gonna have to just make little blobs. That's aggravating. I hate Leeds and Mondo filler. Blew it off before I put that coat on. It shot a whole bunch of water out of the blowgun. Which the tank was empty when I came out here, so all the moisture that came through was either in the line or it's built up since I turned it on. So. This is going to be fun. there's just so much to this. We'll get her done though. We'll make it work, and we'll make it so that it's nice and pretty and straight and looks just as good as the rest of the truck. It's just gonna take some time. So I'm gonna call it there for this one. We're gonna let that dry. We'll come back out here probably tomorrow and continue on. So as you guys can see, we have been creeping along since the last time I videoed. I haven't been videoing because, you know, spreading Bondo and sanding Bondo was pretty boring. And this is time consuming doing this firewall because of all the body lines and nooks and crannies, and definitely probably one of the harder firewalls I've done. But we're getting there, just kind of creeping along. My fingers are sore, I'll tell you that. So we got a couple of pinholes over here. This here, I don't know if you guys remember, back in quite some videos ago, this was all caved in for some reason, and we hammered and dollied and beat it back straight. You know, it almost looked like it may have like caved it in to fit a distributor, but we don't know for sure. I went back and looked at some pictures, and yes, the distributor was in this area, but nowhere near needing to cave it in. So we don't really know what exactly they were doing here, but my guess would be the distributor. But they really mucked it up, so now we're just kind of finishing that up. We started this, you know, a while ago with hammering it straight. So I got the little board out now, and we have been very cautious with our filler. There's been a couple of times that I've just mixed up entirely way too much. You know, trying to spread in these little areas. You know, it takes time to spread it and get it to look decent, not just have it slopped on there. And by the time I was, you know, getting to that point, it was hardening up on me. So I got smart and I broke out the little Bondo board, and I've only been mixing like a stick full at a time. Alright, well, we're getting closer. I have gotten down to this line here. We have down here Marglassed, but we have not gone down there with the lightweight yet. We will be getting down there as soon as I get this top section done. We're probably going to move down with this lower section. I don't know how crazy I'm gonna get in here. There's a bunch of wrinkles and stamp marks from the original stamping of these pieces, and kind of undecided whether or not we're gonna get rid of those or not. I'm kind of leaning towards we are, because we've had so much work in most of these areas that the stamp marks are gone. So if I leave them in one area, it's going to be kind of out of place. So, but I think once we get all this worked out, then I'll be getting down on my hands and knees under here and getting that all worked out. So, well, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to clean my spreader before it dries up, and we'll be back for another check-in shortly. Okay, we're back out here on this firewall still, but we're getting closer. Every time I turn on the camera, we're a little farther down. So we got this center section pretty much squared away. The next coat, there is something here that I need to hit, and a little something here I need to hit. But other than that, we're looking good. I'm ready to sand this. We're ready to sand this. This was just this over here. I mixed some up to coat this spot and just hit over there with what's left. So we're gonna have to hit that again. That's just kind of I guess I would say a courtesy coat, just using some leftover stuff. So but we're getting closer. You know, little by little, we're just inching along on this thing. So looks like there's a bit of a high spot here, so yeah, I smacked my Bondo a little bit there. Now we gotta recoat that. Darn it! Alright, well, we got a little more sanding over here, and then I'm going to throw another coat on. Just rinse and repeat. Just keep doing it until I'm happy with it. I will see you guys back here when we get a little farther. And we left off the other night with working on the firewall, if you could believe that. But we're getting a little closer. I got a couple spots here that I got to sand down, and then I know that there's a spot here that needs to be hit. And this over here, I've just been kind of, you know, I'm coating what I know I need to coat here, and then I'm putting my leftovers over here. So this area over here, you know, once we get this wrapped up, we'll probably have to, you know, get one good full coat over here. But we'll have to see how that kind of goes. So, but yesterday was Mining Monday, so I got to give my fingers somewhat of a little break, but they still hurt. Okay, so we got all this sanded down around here. If you guys remember or go back in some of the earlier videos, previous people actually had stuff screwed to this or something. There was actually holes in here that we had to weld up. So I had to swipe these two and get those sanded out. We're really close here. There's a little bit of a lip here that needs to be hit again. You can see we're breaking through the metal here in this corner, so there's a high spot there and a low spot here. So we gotta coat that again and get that done. And then I think, we did it on this side where we swiped inside this corner. So we're gonna swipe inside this corner here as well and pull this out this way. We'll take care of that. There's a little low spot there. There's a little low spot right here. So we'll take care of those and we'll swipe this. And then I think that we're pretty good there. So as far as swiping the whole thing, I don't know that we necessarily need to swipe the whole thing. But once we get that taken care of, then I think we can move down to this lower section. We need to do a little bit of work there. We'll have to feel, you can see all these stamp marks from this thing being stamped. Some of them you can feel, some of them you can't, and I think that the primer will take care of them. But we're gonna, we're definitely gonna swipe this area here because we can see them there. I said it the other night that I wasn't sure what we were gonna swipe and what we weren't. Me personally, I would like to see all those factory stamp marks and the stretches and the wrinkles that the actual stamp press put into those. I wouldn't mind seeing those myself, but we've done so much work on this firewall that leaving one section with those stamp marks where they're gone everywhere else doesn't make any sense. So we're gonna swipe them, get rid of them. It'll smooth it out. It'll make it look cleaner, I guess. So we'll keep moving on. Like I said, I'm gonna swipe this area here, and then we'll get that sanded down, and then I'll be back to move down to this lower section and start working on that. So I'll see you guys shortly. Okay, so we got these couple of holes here. This is the battery box mounts here, and it doesn't really matter. You're never gonna see this stuff, but I got this little reamer tool that we're gonna run in these tops and just kind of clean up what we got going on here. And I'm using this because it doesn't go in very far, so we're not gonna hit the threads or mess up the threads at all. So that looks much better. We're good to go. You can see I got another coat on this stuff. Hopefully we should be good here. Once we sand this down, that should be done. I hit our little low spot we hit here, and I put the excess down here over our stamp wrinkles. And I hit a couple of welds that were down here. So we'll be able to sand all this up, and then hopefully we'll be good with that, and we'll be able to start with this center section next. So see you guys in a bit. Okay, just doing a little check-in here. You can see we got this, hopefully we got this all wrapped up, and we have moved down to our lower section here. We coated where we had all the wrinkles and stretch marks from the factory stamping. We coated that, got that all smoothed out. The old gas pedal used to come down through there. We got that all smoothed out. We got this in here coated. We got that mostly smoothed out. There was a couple of low spots still that it needed to hit, which we did. We moved down to our lower section. We got that coated. That's just one coat down there. And then I took our excess that was left over from this and I smeared it over yonder. So I'm gonna work on getting that all sanded down. Hopefully, you know, one coat will do it. And then, you know, I'll sand down that over there where we just kind of put our excess there. And that'll probably need another coat. And then after that, it's time to actually get down there on our pad and work on the bottom underneath on our welds. Down there is getting undercoated, so I'm not really super concerned about it. You know, probably what I'm gonna end up doing, we got, you know, there's the welds down there, we haven't done anything with them yet, so they're gonna get coated with Marglass. And I'm gonna DM out. If they look decent, then I'll leave it at that. It'll get primed and we'll undercoat it. If I need to put a coat of lightweight filler, you know, I will. But like I said, it's down underneath. You're not gonna see it from up top. You'll only see it if you're down underneath the vehicle. I just don't want to see a weld, you know, so as long as we get it coated and DA'd out so that it looks somewhat round, like doesn't have to be perfectly straight or anything like that, it's getting undercoated. There is a bug flying in my face. Get out of my face. So, you know, it's getting undercoated. As long as it looks decent, I'm okay with that. So, just saying that, like, I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time down there. I'm just gonna get it coated, DA'd out, and it is, you know, what it is. So it's not horrible down there. We bought that that little belt tool to get in there and grind all the welds down. So we got everything grinded down fairly decently. I'm hoping just one coat will take care of it. So, but anyways, you know, still just coating and sanding. It's boring. I'm not gonna bore you guys with that. You guys have already kind of seen the process I'm going through, which was, you know, coat a little spot, sand it down, coat a little spot, sand it down, and we just kind of moved from the passenger side to the driver's side, and now we've moved down from the driver's side and we're creeping back over to the passenger side. So fun, but we're almost done. You know, I'm hoping maybe tonight or early tomorrow we'll have the firewall wrapped up, and then we're gonna jump up to stripping. We're gonna get this all stripped and cleaned up. You know, some of it is, but it's got some surface rust. We need to finish stripping around the windshield frame. We need to strip that top section. I need to get this vent back out. We're gonna throw that in the sandblaster. We'll get that all blasted up and cleaned up. And then we can start body work up there. We need to, you know, we shaved the windshield wipers, so we need to do a little body work there. You know, there's some little dings here and there. You know, everything will get one courtesy coat over it. But any dings or dents or anything that we need to kind of work on prior to doing the courtesy coat, you know, we'll swipe those areas if need be, get those sanded out, and we'll do a courtesy coat over the top. You know, we're gonna sandblast around the windshield frame before we do any body work. I'm gonna re-sandblast any of our welds and stuff down here. I've tried to keep them clean, with, you know, hitting them with a wire wheel if any surface rust pops up or hot spots over the time. I've tried to keep them clean, But just to make sure we get all the nooks and crannies and good and everything, we're gonna, you know, sandblast the welds and get that all cleaned up, and then, you know, we will start body work on this, and hopefully, you know, we got a lot of flat areas up here, so hopefully this won't take too long. You know, I don't think we're gonna have to do much around the windshield frame. It's just basically gonna be this all the way across, and then the sides all the way down, which, like I said, everything's pretty flat. We just got to make sure that it stays flat. And then, you know, then I'm hoping, you know, get all this done over the rest of the week. It's Tuesday right now, so, you know, hopefully by the weekend, you know, maybe we'll have this all wrapped up and ready for primer, and hopefully, you know, maybe this weekend. You know, I'm not gonna set any unrealistic dates, but you know, hopefully this weekend we can tape off the frame and tape off everything and get this all primed out here and get the floor inside primed. We do have a little prep work to do inside. Like just around the box where the seat mounts, like I haven't sanded or scuffed or anything, that stuff. And, you know, we're gonna be priming in there, so any overspray primer that gets up on there, I'm not gonna go crazy taping everything off. I'm just gonna make sure that if primer gets on stuff, it sticks. You know, the whole inside's getting the bed liner in there, so I don't really care if there's overspray on stuff. We're painting it all, so just gotta make sure that it'll stick. So, but yeah, that's the plan for the next week, and hopefully, you know, we're gonna get the rockers primed too when we do the floor. So hopefully this whole front section, the rockers, floor, everything, you know, will be primed here soon. So, like I said, I'm hoping, you know, by the weekend we should be pretty much ready for that. And then I think from there, I'll make that decision at that point. Either we're gonna strip the roof and see what's going on up there. There's a bunch of cracks up there, like bodywork is cracked. But looking on the inside, like, I don't see any major dents or anything up there, so I don't know why there would be bodywork up there other than the person who built this truck before, back in the 90s, really loved their Bondo, and they coated the entire truck, you know, 3/4 inch thick, full of filler. But hopefully we can get that stripped up there, you know, do a courtesy coat over the whole thing, get that primed. Or we're gonna start on the doors. Doors need to be stripped, cleaned. We need to take them outside, sandblast them. Inside now, get them all down to bare metal. There's a little bit of body work that we got to do on the inside where we've done some work, and then the inside can get primed. And then that way we don't have no hot spots or anything like that. And then we can start, you know, the outside. The outside's, you know, got a lot more work, and, you know, nooks and crannies and creases, and there's body lines and all types of stuff on these doors. These doors are going to be kind of like the Firewall, where it's just, you know, we'll probably, you know, we'll coat it here, we'll get that all sanded down, we'll coat it here, we'll get that all sanded down, you know, we'll work on the bottom section, get that done, work up here, get that done. You know, it'll probably be broke off into sections again. Like, you know, I'm not going to coat the whole door. It's not like it's you know, a 72 Buick LeSabre door that's just long and flat. So, but yeah, so I think that's where we're kind of headed, and you guys kind of have an idea, and hopefully we get rocking and rolling. So, you know, I'm hoping within the next couple months that we have all the body work done, it's all primed, and we actually have, like, it jammed out, like the firewall's painted blue, the door jambs are painted blue, the dashboard's painted blue. and we'll be able to put the motor back in. I've seen some pictures of the motor. It's looking awesome. It's all painted. It's going back together. New oil pump, timing chain. The heads have been completely rebuilt. It's got some hefty lobed cam in it. So it's looking good. It's coming back together. Like I said, I've seen some pictures of it. They got it all cleaned up and painted, and it's looking super sharp. So, so that'll be able to go back in it, and then hopefully, you know, we'll have to see where we're at with things. Either we're going to start on the front end and get the front end done, jammed out and put back on the truck, and then the truck will leave and we'll bring the bed over. You know, the bed is hopefully it's good and we can get everything all blocked out, and there's not too much that needs to be repined. And you know, I'm hoping that maybe we can just spot prime what needs to be primed and then go on with painting. There is still some work that needs to be done on the bed. Like, we need to build a brace that goes along the top of the back piece by the cab, between the bed and the cab, that we made. It's got the body lines in it and everything. We need to build a brace for extra strength up on the top, get that welded in, and we need to put the floor in. So those two things will need to be done, and then we can continue on with hopefully getting everything sanded down and get that guy painted. So we'll get it painted, we'll get it wet sanded and buffed, we'll get it done. It'll get wrapped in plastic. It'll go back to my buddy's house. We'll bring the truck back over here then. And the reason that I'm doing it that way is so that the primer on the cab has some time to sit. Primer on the bed has had 6 months as of this point that it's been sitting. So it is fully cured, it is fully shrank. That's why I'm hoping like we can just sand it down and paint, you know. I did put quite a bit of primer on there, so I'm hoping we can block everything out and be good. And then, you know, hopefully the cab will have sat for, you know, a month or two. Hopefully that's it. Hopefully we can get it done quick enough that it's only been like a month or two. But, you know, in a month or two, the primer should be plenty cured, and we should be able to block this all out and get all that painted. So, still a lot of work. We're talking months down the road, but, you know, we're in August right now. No. Crap, we're in September. We're beginning of September. So I'm hoping like September, October, November, December, like we should be really close to wrapping this thing up by then. So like in the next 4 months, hopefully we will be finishing this guy up. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm not here to rush anything, so it is what it is. But if we can get it done in the next 4 months, we're darn well gonna try. So. All right, enough talking your guys' ears off. I will see you guys in a little bit. All right, well, so this is where we're at now on this. We got this whole section done, and remember we had kind of like a half coat over there. Got that all sanded down, and it was actually really close. And my plan is that we are going to tape along this line, following all the way around this line, and from that line down is what's going to get undercoated, and then from that line up will be blue. These little body mount things here will be blue, but I think the majority of all that down there is going to be undercoated. You know, like I said, from that body line down, undercoating. So it was so close that I was almost like debating on whether or not to leave it because it's getting undercoated. But and I was like, I might as well just coat it and make sure that it's good. So the whole reason that we're gonna undercoat from that line down is because it is gonna be darn near impossible to get the blue paint down inside those body mounts. I couldn't get back there to sand. I couldn't get back there to sandblast. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot that I could do back there unless I was to remove the body mounts altogether, and we're not doing that. So it's already black underneath there from the factory. So I figured just continue on with the black and we'll undercoat it. And it'll be a little easier to kind of some undercoating in between that body mount area. And what it is what it is. It's already black back there. So, you know, being black back there already and then trying to shoot some blue in there. If you can't get all the blue in there, you're gonna see the blue and the black, and you're just gonna see that that it's not fully coated down there. But if we just stick with the black and undercoat it, you'll never see it. So that's my reasoning behind doing what I'm doing. Plus, you know, once the motor's in here and the fenders and everything's all put together, like, you're gonna see a lot less of that stuff anyways. So I'm just trying to think of what's the cleanest look that we can get down there, and that's the route that we're gonna go. So I think just a nice clean tape line will blend the undercoating into the black that's already down there. And not only that, but like, you know, I don't know, this far down below that line is our weld. So I would have to come up that far anyways to, you know, cover that weld with undercoating. You might as well, instead of just fading it off in there, you might as well just come up, you know, another 2.5 inches and come up to that body line and just make a nice straight line across there. So, but we got that coated. I'm gonna call it a night. We'll come back out in the morning. We'll sand down that spot. Then, like I said, we're gonna work on that weld down there. I need to get underneath there with the DA. If you remember, we painted the floor while I was out. The underside of the floor, we painted it with 2-in-1. So I need to get under there and sand it, DA it, whatever, scuff it, get it all cleaned up, so when we put the body filler down there, we're not putting it over shiny black paint, you know. So so we'll work on that tomorrow. I think within a couple hours tomorrow we'll have that done, and we'll be on to the next thing, so which will be stripping all this paint off around this windshield and cowl area and getting this stuff all cleaned up and ready for body work. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night. Remember to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. Catch you in the next one.